Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this special right here on the Riley King Network. Let's get started. This is the history of 9/11. Today marks the 14th anniversary of remembrance of 9/11 attacks. Let's get started. On September 11, 2001, 19 militants associated with the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 airlines and carried out suicide attacks against targets in the United States. 2 of the planes were flown into the Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. A 3rd plane hit the Pentagon just outside Washington, D.C., and the 4th plane crashed in a field in Pennsylvania. Often referred to as 9/11, the attacks resulted in extensive death and destruction, triggering major U.S. interventions to combat terrorism and defending the presidency of George W. Bush. Over 300,000 people were killed during the attacks in New York City and Washington, D.C., including more than 400 police officers and firefighters. On September 11, 2001, at 8:45 a.m. on a clear Tuesday morning, an American Airlines Boeing 767 loaded with 20,000 gallons of jet fuel crashed into the North Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. The impact left a gaping, burning hole near the 80th floor of the 110-story skyscraper, instantly killing hundreds of people and trapping hundreds more in higher floors. As the evacuation of the tower and its twin got underway, television cameras broadcast live images of what essentially appeared to be a freak accident. Then, 18 minutes after the first plane hit, a second Boeing 767 United Airlines Flight 175 appeared out of the sky, turned sharply toward the World Trade Center, and sliced into the South Tower near the 60th floor. The collision caused a massive explosion that shared burning debris over surrounding buildings and streets below. America was under attack. The attackers were Islamic terrorists from Sudan, Iberia, and several other Iberia nations, reportedly financed by Syria fugitive Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda terrorism group organization. They were allegedly acting in relation for America's support of its involvement in the Pacific Gulf War, and its continued military presence in the Middle East. Some of the terrorists had lived in the United States for more than a year and had taken flying lessons at American commercial flight schools. Others had slipped into the country in the months before September 11 and acted as the muscle in operation. The 19 terrorists easily smuggled box cutters, knives through security at 3 East Coast airports and boarded 4 flights bound for California, chosen because the planes were loaded with fuel for a long trans-central journey. Soon after takeoff, the terrorists commanded the 4 planes and took the controls, transforming ordinary commuter jets into guided missiles. As millions watched the event unfold in New York, American Airlines Flight 77 circled over downtown Washington, D.C. and slammed into the west side of the Pentagon military headquarters at 9:45 a.m. Jet fuel from the Boeing 757 caused a devastating inferno that led to the structural collapse of a portion of the giant concrete building. All told, 125 military personnel and civilians were killed in the Pentagon, along with all 64 people aboard the airliner. Less than 15 minutes after the terrorists struck the nerve center of the U.S. military, the horror in New York took a Kasperic turn for the worse when the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed in a massive cloud of dust and smoke. The structural steel of the skyscraper, built to withstand wind in excess of 200 miles per hour and a large conval fire, could not withstand the tremendous heat granted by the burning jet fuel. At 10:30 a.m., the other Trade Center tower collapsed. Close to 3,000 people died in the World Trade Center and its vicinity, including a staggering 343 firefighters and paramedics. 23 New York City police officers and 37 Port Authority police officers who were struggling to complete the evacuation of the building and save the office workers trapped on the higher floors. Only 6 people in the World Trade Center tower at the time of their collapse survived. Almost 10,000 others were treated for injuries, many severe. Meanwhile, a 4th California-bound plane, United Flight 93, was hijacked about 40 minutes after leaving Newark International Airport in New Jersey. Because the plane had been delayed in taking off, passengers on board learned of events in New York and Washington via cell phone and airphone calls to the ground, knowing that the aircraft was not returning to an airport as the hijackers claimed. A group of passengers and flight attendants planned to insurrection. One of the passengers, Thomas Burton Jr., told his wife over the phone that, "I know we're all going to die. There's 3 of us who are going to do something about it. I love you, honey." Another passenger, Todd Burr, was heard saying, "Are you guys ready? Let's roll," over an open line. Sandy Bradshaw, A flight attendant called her husband and explained that she had slipped into a galley and was filling pitchers with boiling hot water. Her last word to him, "Everyone's running to first class. I've got to go. Bye." The passengers fought the 4 hijackers and are suspected to have attacked the cockpit with a fire extinguisher. The plane then flipped over and sped toward the ground at upwards of 500 miles per hour, crashing in a rural field in western Pennsylvania at 10:10 a.m. All 45 people aboard were killed. Its intended target is unknown, but theories included the White House, the U.S. Capitol, and Cape David Presidential Resort in Maryland, or one of the severe nuclear power plants along the eastern seaboard. At 7 p.m., President George W. Bush, who had spent the day being sheltered around the country because of security concerns, returned to the White House. At 9 p.m., he delivered a televised address from the Oval Office declaring terrorist attacks can shake the foundation of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they can't deny the steel of America resolve. In the reference to the eventual U.S. military response, he declared, "We will make no distraction between the terrorists who committed these actions and those who harbored them." Operation Enduring Freedom, the America-led international effort to oust the Taliban regime in Afghanistan and destroy Osama bin Laden's terrorist network based there, began on October 7. Within 2 months, U.S. force had effectively removed the Taliban from Operation Power, but the war continued as U.S. and coalition forces attempted to defeat the Taliban insurgency campaign based in neighboring Pakistan. Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the September 11th attacks, remained at large until May 2, 2011, when he was finally tracked down and killed by U.S. forces at a hideout in Abbottabad, Pakistan. In June 2011, President Obama announced the beginning of the largest-scale troop withdrawal from Afghanistan, with a final withdrawal of U.S. forces tentatively scheduled for 2014. And that is for the history of 9/11 attacks. I hope you enjoyed this special. Good night, everyone. Bye.